Hello, this is Mr. Thomas, and I'm going to walk you through some of this ocean heat content data that we have in this figure. So what we see in the figure, we have time, of course, in years across the bottom, so that's the horizontal axis. And on the vertical axis, we have the heat content of the oceans. Now, on this left vertical axis, you can see that this is done in zetajoules, so that's a measure of energy. So we can see this is how much it's changing in terms of zetajoules. And because zetajoules is not really something that most of us deal with, they also have it on the right side in Kelvin. And this is changed in the ocean, sort of total heat content, total temperature, if you will. And so one change Kelvin, so a change of 1 Kelvin is equivalent to a change of 1 degree Celsius. And 1 degree Celsius is about 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit. So when we look at this vertical bar on the right, this Kelvin, that's showing a change of 1 Kelvin, which is about 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit. So again, the vertical axis is energy or temperature, and the horizontal axis is time in years. So we are here in this middle area, this green area here. And so we see that we have a zoom in of this in this box. Different groups have come up with different ways of taking the data from various buoys and thermometers essentially placed in the ocean around the world, and use different ways of putting the data together to make their estimates. They're all fairly close to each other, though they're not exactly in sync. It is different scientific teams coming up with different assumptions. And then off to the right, we actually see two different scenarios of how things might play forward. We have a view that I think of as sort of a pessimistic view, and another one that is perhaps an optimistic view. So what we see in this pessimistic view, this RCP 8.5, that's this one here, this orange band shows that there's a range for this model, and as time goes off, the range will keep getting wider because you're less certain about how that's actually going to play out. This one represents the idea that all of the regulations that are there, in terms of governments and what companies are doing, and all the different emissions from carbon and from factories and whatever, all of those are going to keep on going just as they are now. The other scenario that's here, this lower scenario, this sort of pinkish one, this one represents really the most stringent assumptions of what controls could be placed moving forward. So if every country really adhered to very strict controls on carbon emissions, stuff from factories and automobiles, and made a big shift to renewable energy sources, that's what that represents. So we see two different scenarios for how things could play out. They show different ranges of how confident they are, and those ranges keep getting wider and wider as time goes on. So hopefully that helps you make sense of this. We have data that we have both historical and current, and then moving forward, either sort of a pessimistic view or an optimistic view.